Hello everybody, this is AruvaChan, and before I get into today's video, I just wanted to say if you are enjoying my videos, then to leave a like. It really helps me share all of my stuff, and it spreads it to new people. So if you'd like that to happen, please leave a like. And if you like me, please subscribe. And if you're enjoying my stuff and you want to chat with me any other time, please join my Discord. There's already a ton of people there, and we have a lot of fun. We really do. We have contests there, and everybody's always really active. So I'll see you there. So I have something a little bit different for you guys. I have a story today, but I actually wrote a script for it. Well, sort of a script. I was typing it out in Discord, and I figured I could make a story out of this. Like, this is a pretty long kind of thing that I'm telling here. So anyway, here it is. I was in this choir? I was in this choir, and it recently just ended. Like, it ended Sunday, and today's Wednesday. And this happened a long time ago, like in the middle of practice, so maybe not that long ago. This guy brought in his guitar case and was singing and stuff. And we'll call him Guitar Guy. And I love music, so I scooted over there. And I listened until he was done, and then I started talking to him about wanting to learn guitar. Well, he said he taught guitar, and if I could pop in, I could pop by, he said, and he could teach me a few things if I was interested. And I said sure, and I agreed to go to the class. So I was very skeptical, but he said I'd be sharing my time with somebody younger. So to give you a little bit of background, this guy is probably in his late 60s, and all my entire choir was old people. And then there was me, like the youngest person other than me was 38. To give you a little bit of background info. So he told me there would be somebody else there, somebody younger, and I, was kind of okay with this. So I was okay with having another person there. So I get to this place, and I'm a little late because it's a yoga studio underneath a subway in the town over. And there were ladies just getting out. And they were like, "Oh, awesome, another person for guitar." And I was like, "Yeah." I'm excited. I love guitar, and I really wanted to learn how to play it. So I look around, and this room is tiny. And there's a stool with two other stools around it. And who else? But the guitar guy is sitting there. So we wait because we're waiting for this other kid. He's like a 12-year-old or something. We wait there for this other kid, but he decides that today he wasn't gonna be there. So fine. We start kind of warming up, and guitar guy tells me about his life. He starts telling me about his life, and he gives me a sheet of music, so it wasn't a really big deal. And I actually knew a lot of the stuff on the sheet because I had taught myself. So we go through the sheet, and he gives me another sheet, and it's a sheet of music, and the music is Puff the Magic Dragon. And I don't know if you know this song, but it's very boring. He's like, "Oh, it's easy, we'll learn it, we'll learn it to you." God, we'll teach it to you. So I was like, cool, fine, this isn't the best song, but I'm cool with that, whatever. So we play it a few times, and I kind of, start singing to it because we're in choir together, so I can't really be like, "Oh, I don't sing." So we're in choir together, so I start singing it, and he tells me, "Oh, I have a beautiful voice." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I'm really shy about that kind of stuff, because I'm like, "Oh, thank you." I don't usually sing in front of people. This is really, kind of scary for me, and blah, blah, blah. And it was, I don't know, it was not really a big deal. So it made me feel good. Not gonna lie. We were about half an hour in, and we've run through this entire sheet of Puff the Magic Dragon, and we've run through it 3 or 4 times, and I know all of the chords to the song, and I can play the song, and it's a little difficult, it's a little difficult switching my fingers and stuff. Like, I don't know if you've ever played guitar and you have small hands, but it's very difficult for you to go from like C to G for me, because I have my fingers, I've learned myself, so you have your fingers like placed differently if you are taught how to finger, or how to like, pretend I didn't say that, how to place your fingers on the guitar. He said I was a beginner, so all of that stuff will eventually, work itself out. Like, I'll be able to put my fingers on the guitar a different way, and I should be able to, just learn how to do it normally. And he said, just do whatever way is good for you. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I figured by then the lesson was over. And for this lesson, if it had only been a half an hour long, I paid $25 to get into the lesson, which was fine, but like for a half an hour where we only did one song, which I knew how to play basically, I don't know. I feel like that was, I'm not complaining about getting a lesson, but it wasn't really a lesson because I didn't really learn anything. I learned how to play a song, which was, I guess, okay. I didn't pay to learn how to play a song, I paid to learn guitar, but that's fine. Whatever. Well, Guitar Guy has decided that lesson is done, like half an hour in, and he goes into story mode. And he tells me how he used to live in Philadelphia, and how he used to live next to a drug dealer, but she was a little old lady, and she was smoking weed and stuff, and one day he had hurt his back, and she gave him some weed. And I don't know if you know me, I'm very straight edge, like I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. So I'm not really interested in this combo, because I am uncomfortable with him being like, oh, weed this, weed that. Like, I don't care if you do it, but like, he was implying that I might. Like, he was like, oh, weed, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know weed, blah, 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 please. Because if you ever see me, I have long pink hair, like bubblegum pink hair, and the side of my head shaved. Like, I look very punk right now, even though I'm like an absolute doll. I look very punk, and it sometimes throws people for a loop because they're like, oh, her voice does not look like it would come out of that. Like, yeah, it's me. Like, hello, I'm a sweet little baby. Like, please don't talk to me about weed. So, I wasn't interested, and at one point, he had asked me if, I liked smoking weed and stuff, and I was like, I don't smoke. And he was like, oh, like, I don't know. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and, I don't do anything. So, like, when he was asking me, I was like, I don't know. He's like, oh, yeah, like, I only did it for my back. And then it's like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And then he starts saying, like, he delves deeper into his sadness, and he starts, like, getting teary-eyed, and he's like, my wife might be getting a divorce. And I'm like, okay, like, what, how did I end up in this conversation? How did I end up here? I was like, oh, that's so sad. Like, oh, I feel so bad. Like, what are you supposed to say to this? Like, I have no idea. And by this point, now, an hour and a half has gone by. So I've been at this yoga place with this man for over 2 hours, and we only play guitar for the first half hour. So we've been talking for an hour and a half. And he's getting into how sad he's been, and I was like looking at the clock every half hour, like how long is this lesson supposed to be? We ended up staying there for almost 3 hours, just talking about his life. I'm pretty sure it was about 3 hours. So we stayed there until it was like 9 or 10. I can't really remember which, but I do remember it was late and me being like, I gotta get home. And he, like, eventually we just got to a point where it was just really awkward, and we were kind of just sitting there, like, trying to make small talk, and I was like, I need to go home. And he was like, okay, like, we'll lock up and stuff, like, okay. And it was getting really late, so I was like, I'm gonna go home. So we packed up and we headed out. Like, okay, cool, I'll never have to do this again. And I am not the person you want to cry to if you don't know me, because I literally will not care. Like, I care to a certain point, but like, I don't want to hear your life story if you're just a creepy old man. Like, it wasn't creepy. You just was sad. But like, I don't want to be, I've had so many friends who I've been the person they go to cry to. And I don't like being that person. Like, I don't mind hearing about your, sad times and how your boyfriend broke up with you or whatever. Like, every once in a while. I don't mind hearing about that. But if it's all the time, I don't. And like, I get in funny moods where I just don't want to talk to people. And I definitely think I was in one of those moods because this person he just kept talking to me. And I'm like, please, can I just go home? I think it was more of like, I'm being held captive and this man just wants to talk to me about himself. Like, please, I just want to go home. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. So, he was the guitar guy. He gave me a lesson. Fine. I just wanted to learn guitar, and I did not have the heart to tell this old man to go to a counselor. And weeks go by after this. Weeks go by. And I try to avoid him. So I have chorus or choir every Monday. And he's in the choir. And he's like halfway. So I like don't make eye contact. I try not to talk to him. And like every once in a while it's like, oh, like, hey, how's it going? It's like, oh, good. Like, I feel really bad because I weeks have gone by and I have not gone back. And he asks if I'm gonna be at the guitar lessons, and I kind of make up excuses like, oh no, work or whatever came up, and like, I just can't come at the time. Because I didn't want to seem mean, because this guy was just an old man who's lonely or whatever, and I just didn't want to hang out with him. Like, essentially, that's what I was doing. I didn't want to hang out with him because he was like 60, and it's kind of weird. Well, I'm in this choir with him, and every, so often he would look across the choir, and he would just look at me for a little bit, like, please stop looking at me. And I'll like look away and pretend I don't see him. Like, I'll see him looking at me and I'll kind of like turn and I'll see him looking at me and he'll like smile, and he has weird teeth, and that kind of gets me. He has weird teeth, like old yellow and brown and stuff, and I quickly turn away, like, ooh. So after weeks of like avoiding him, I see him at Walmart, and he asked me if I've been practicing like my guitar and stuff, and he's with his wife and I'm with my best friend, and he's a guy, so if I needed to, I would have told him that I was with my boyfriend or something. And so he asked me how I was, and then he left. Like, he asked if I had been practicing, and then I left. And which felt really good because I was I did not want to talk to him. But I felt guilty for not doing the guitar classes because I really did want to learn guitar. It was mostly because I didn't have the money for it, because $25 a week is a lot for me. Like, I don't make that much off YouTube, and YouTube's the only thing I'm doing right now. So I, if I'm only making, $100, $300 a month, that's my entire month. So one day I was in chorus, and I was just kind of chilling at one point, and one of the guys, they're all old, in the chorus came up to me, and he's like, hey, Sarah, what would you think about doing a solo or a duet of something? And I was like, oh, maybe, ooh, are you really asking me? This is so cool. And I wasn't really sure that I would be brave enough to do something like this, and I'm a nervous Nelly, but it came together pretty quickly. I wasn't going to do a solo, but maybe a duet with somebody else. And who I was immediately paired with? Guitar guy. And I'm sure, of course, that's fine, whatever. I was just feeling awkward because I felt bad, sure. So he asked if I had heard this old band. We were trying to figure out songs. He asked if I heard this old band, and I was like, no, because it sounded like it was from, the Stone Age. Not the Rolling Stone Age, the Stone Age. Actually, it might have been the Rolling Stone Age, but I was like, no. And I told him the kind of stuff I listen to, because I am literally a child. I listen to the new stuff. And he's like, oh, I've never heard of it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I've heard old songs, you haven't heard new songs, like, that's fine. So we talk about it with some other members in the choir, and the guitar guy suggested the song, and everybody was kind of like, and they're like, it's nice, but I don't think it's really what we're looking for, because it was like a duet, essentially. And at this point, there was 4 people in the group. There was me, guitar guy, and 2 other men, and he was like, well, we could harmonize and all this stuff, and everybody's like, I don't think we could harmonize to this song. And he was like, I just don't understand. Like, we waited, like, after, and I don't know, like, he was talking to me after, because everybody had left, and we were like, oh, we're gonna practice or whatever. It's like 9 o'clock at night, whatever. So I think he just wanted me and him to sing the song, but, 2 more people kind of ended up joining our group. So after this, I'm not there for like 2 weeks, because I was literally feeling burnt out for whatever reason, like because of this art job or whatever. Like, sometimes you feel really burnt out because you just aren't, getting the stuff that you really want to enjoy. Like, a lot of the times when you feel like your art isn't good enough, you start to feel burnout. At least that's what it is with me. Sorry, I keep ignore that. I was gone for 2 weeks, and they had decided collectively that they were doing Puff the Magic Dragon. So that was a song we were gonna sing. Like, of course, guitar guy would pick that song because he taught it to me, and when we were practicing, he said the way I was singing it sounded good. Well, when I was in practice with him, when I was in his guitar thing with him, I had sung multiple other songs, and that being the least favorite one I did. Like, I sang Jolene and everything. Like, I sang and played it on guitar because that's one of the songs I knew. And, like, I don't have a problem with the song, and I didn't have a problem with the other 2 gentlemen because they were perfectly sweet to me. But at one point, like, guitar guy kept looking at me. Like, the other men were looking at me too, but like at a normal amount. But the way guitar guy kept looking at me and like smiling and stuff, it was kind of creepy, and I don't know why it creeped me out, but it did. And honestly, I trust my gut now, and I kind of stayed away from him as much as possible. Hey guys, that's it for this part of the video. This is actually going to be a 2-parter, so stick around next week for the next part of this video. And I'll see you guys then. Bye!